Good morning and welcome to the very first Upper 90 podcast. It is Tuesday, December 11th. My name is Antonio Top. I'm here with Bethany Naranjo and Brandon Starnes. And today we have a very interesting and controversial topic to share with y'all. Should the U.S. women's national team get paid the same amount as the U.S. men's national team? Stay tuned as Bethany gives us some insight on the issue. Brandon gives us an expert's opinion, and I will break down a New York Times article that claims pay disparity in the U.S. soccer is complicated. The breakdown. So Bethany, why don't you break down the issue a bit for us?
All right. So the problem that has been up for debate is how the U.S. national soccer team gets paid less than the men, even though they have more success. Some of the women's players have spoken out about the issue to the public, expressing how they are tired of the injustice they feel they are being treated compared to the men. So right now I have a clip from an interview on The Daily Show with 3 women's players, and it's kind of funny, so.
Okay. Do you know who the 3 players are?
Yeah, so the 3 players are Becky Sauenberg, Ali Krieger, and Hope Solo.
Okay. Big names.
To the Federation should be seen as equal to what the men have done.
Fine, whatever. But you need to understand that the men made it to the round of 16 in the World Cup.
Well, we've won 3 World Cups.
Well, they are ranked 30th in the world.
We're ranked number 1.
They play with so much passion.
We have 4 Olympic gold medals.
Humble brags, okay. But how much less could their pay possibly be?
If we win a match, we get $1,300. The men, they get around $17,000.
Whoa.
If the men's team loses, they make $5,000.
5 G's if you lose. Could you imagine having that much money?
Can't really imagine it because we don't get paid anything if we lose.
Maybe that's why you guys don't lose. Silver lining.
Kidding.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah, so basically what shocked me the most in this interview is the fact that the men get paid $17,000 if they win, and the women only get $1,300 if they win.
Right.
And then the men, they lose a match, they get paid $5,000, while the women get nothing. The men literally get paid more to lose than the women get paid to win.
Yeah, no, that's
To
crazy.
win!
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And, I mean, in my opinion, that's not fair at all. So, Brandon, we're told that you have some quotes for us.
Yeah, I do. So Professor Roggenson was kind enough to provide us with some quotes regarding this issue. With her 30 plus years of experience in the sports media field, I figured she'd be great to provide us with some insight for this. The first thing that she mentions was actually in regards to Venus Williams and her ability to convince Grand Slam events to provide equal prize money in tennis. And she's mentioned that she was able to do this with the use of data from ticket sales and television ratings showing women's finals were equally watched and attended. So I thought that was pretty interesting to show that this battle for equity and equal pay has been seen with between female and male athletes. And then she went on to go ahead and mention a little bit on the women's national team. She said that the women's national team is able to outperform men in every metric, success, attendance, and U.S. viewers. And then she goes on to say that, and this is pretty interesting as well, that jersey sales at one point were even higher for the women's players than they were for the American players.
Right.
And then she concludes with the exact quote, there is zero reason except gender bias that explains why women players would ever be paid less than the men in this sport in this country.
I mean, she's kind of right, you know, the stats are there, everything's in front of us, and the only thing that comes to mind now is gender.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what the issue seems to be. I mean, there's no other reason for them to be getting paid less than that.
Yeah, and the women even have said that they have improved sales and their revenue, and the men have lost money because no one wants to watch a team lose. But they know if they watch the women, they're going to see some champions.
Right. And, I mean, like they said, you know, they won 3 World Cups, and the men's national team didn't even make it to the World Cup this year. And so I actually read this article by the New York Times titled "Pay Disparity in U.S. Soccer. It's Complicated." The article basically gives us a few more stats comparing the women's national team to the men's national team. The article starts off by stating that 5 players of the women's national team, as Bethany mentioned before, complain about how they're only getting paid a quarter of what the men's are getting paid. The article brings up the point that the men's bring in more revenue, and although that is true for most years, after the women's won the World Cup in 2015, the revenue brought in for U.S. soccer skyrocketed. They actually brought in $23 million, and that's $16 million more than what they had projected. The U.S. Federation profited $6.6 million with the women and only $2 million with the men. So the question brought up next was, is it equal work? In 3 of the past 4 years, the women's national team has played more games, sometimes 40 and 50% more, than the men's national team. The women also had twice as many victories, 88 wins to the men's 44. In other words, the women play more games on a year-to-year basis and must win to claim their bonuses, effectively requiring them to work harder and perform better just to keep pace. So the question now is, what's being done about this? The article mentions how U.S. Soccer's president Sunil Gulati quoted, "We want to compensate them fairly." And new FIFA president Gianni Infantino agrees with Gulati and expressed a desire to create a new women's division in FIFA focused solely on promoting women's soccer globally. So there's no doubt that FIFA is on board with creating equity between women and men's soccer in terms of pay. Well, to conclude, the article says that the complaint is under investigation, and whether or not a new agreement will emerge when the current one expires in December 31st, either way, if these kind of discussions continue, the U.S. women's national team will end up with a better deal. So with that being said, what do you guys think about this?
Well, personally, I think it's interesting that they say that the men to qualify for the World Cup is a 16-game long series, and that the women's is only 5. That's not, I mean, I get it. Like, they're trying to say that the men, like, have to play more games and essentially work harder to get to the World Cup, but that's no excuse. Like, if they were that good, they would win. Right. So the women, like, sure, they play only 5 games, but they win. That's all my opinion.
Well, the thing about that is that men's soccer around the world, they have more access or more, programs in order for these players to become, professional, to start their professional career. And for women's, they actually, not everywhere around the world have those type of programs.
Right. Yeah, like in the U.S., for example, most universities have equal opportunities for the women to develop as athletes in multiple sports, whereas you see that in other countries, they're not given those opportunities. The U.S. does a really good job of providing the women the opportunity to develop from an early age with different clubs, organizations that they can join up into high school sports, and then up into college as well. And again, you just don't see that in most other countries, which is one of the reasons why our women's team does so well compared to.
So good.
Right.
And I guess that would be the argument here, is that they might have it a little bit easier than what the men's might have it. But either way, that doesn't take away the fact that they're still winning and they're getting results, and that's what matters at the end of the day. And if they're getting results, they should get compensated for it. So I do believe that there should be something done about pay equity, and women should get paid just as much as the men, if not more, because they're getting better results.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. My final thoughts are that simply the women should get paid for their success, not your gender.
Right, I agree with that as well. And personally for myself, I've had more, or I felt more excitement watching the women's national team play than the men's national team. Just knowing that the women's national team have an opportunity to actually win their games, to see a national team win the World Cup is pretty exciting. And for them not to be getting paid as equal, I just don't think that's right at all.
So I think we can all agree that the women's national team should be getting paid more or equal to the men's national team. And that concludes our podcast. I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us. Once again, my name is Antonio Top.
I'm Bethany Naranjo.
Brandon Stearns.
And we hope that y'all can join us next week here at Upper 90. Thank you.